Welcome back to another video on the channel. Hope everyone has had a brilliant time watching Wimbledon so far and enjoyed the women's quarterfinals. We have two brilliant matchups in the semi-finals on Thursday coming up. Former champion Elena Rybakina takes on Barbora Krejcikova, and Donna, Vekic and Jasmine Paolini take each other on, in which one of them will reach their first ever Wimbledon final. Just before going into previewing and predicting those two semi-finals, I just want to send a quick thank you to anyone that has tuned in to my coverage of Wimbledon in this last week or two. Had over 3,000 views on my women's Wimbledon quarter-final video, which is great numbers for myself. If you would like to subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. Only takes a couple of seconds. I will be covering the Olympics, US Open, Cincinnati Open, ATP finals, WTA finals, and probably more tournaments throughout the rest of 2024. And also, I do have a dream of working in tennis media one day. I use this channel to improve my skills, to improve my tennis knowledge, to shine light on the sport, and I just love analysing and watching tennis. So if you would subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated in supporting my journey to hopefully work in tennis media one day. So the first semi-final I'm going to look at is Donna Vekic against Jasmine Paolini. And how I'm going to do this, I'm going to quickly review their quarterfinal performances and then look at how I think both players can have success in this matchup before predicting who I think will win the match and reach the Wimbledon final. So Donna Vekic has come through a very tough draw. She's had 4 3-setters through 5 rounds. And, Paula Badosa, Lulu Sun, Yastremska, Wang, all difficult matchups on paper. And I think considering Vekic very nearly stepped away from the sport after suffering a potentially career-ending injury a couple of years ago, it's amazing to see a player with such dedication to reach a maiden Grand Slam semi-final after recovering from such a serious injury. And looking at the Lulu Sun match, I was very impressed with Vekic tactically. The way she hit the forehand consistently flat and deep, took time away from Sun, who had previously hit 52 winners on centre court against Amarada Kanu in a 3-set thriller. And I think, Lulu Sun really struggled to deal with that on a consistent basis. In the first set, it was very nip and tuck. It was very high quality, particularly on the serve. And Sun served and returned excellently well in that first set. And I actually think looked fresher than Vekic. I was surprised that Vekic staged the comeback that she did after the first set went how it did. The 1-2 punch of serve from Sun on serve was brilliant throughout, whether it was a tee serve or wide. She followed it up with clean winners, and it was very difficult to see how Vekic was going to make a breakthrough. But ultimately, they both served superbly. They both held serve to love a number of times in set 2. And, Vekic got the upper hand eventually, but then threw in 5 double false serve and a 5-3, which I do feel is a slight worry going into a semi-final and potential final, that if she does get a big moment, whether a serve will stand up and be, a weapon rather than a hindrance. But she did respond to her credit with a stunning return game that saw her take the second set 6-4. Following that, Sun fell away physically in the third set, which is hardly surprising. She's a qualifier that's had an unbelievable run into the 4th round of Wimbledon, but did obviously play 3 qualifying matches as well, so she spent a hell of a lot of time on court. But it saw Vekic racing to a 3-love lead, and it allowed Vekic to settle, go into a rhythm, served incredibly well. She stayed aggressive, and she started to really read the Sun serve as well. There's not too many lefties on tour, and I think Sun's got an incredibly good serve, particularly when she goes wide. But Vekic altered her return position, I felt, throughout the match, started to return better, be more aggressive on it. And she broke on 3 consecutive games and ended up running out a really comfortable winner in that third set 6-1 to reach her first Wimbledon semi-final and continue what has been a brilliant championships for her so far. Moving on to Jasmine Paolini. Now, when I do my research for this video, I read that Jasmine Paolini never won a Wimbledon match before 2024, and I just find that astonishing when you watch the way she performed against Emma Navarro. I think it's worth pointing out and just applauding the year that Jasmine Paolini has had. She won a maiden 1000 Masters title in Dubai in February before reaching the French Open final, the semi-final in Eastbourne, now a semi-final at Wimbledon. She's now in the top 5 of the world, replacing Jessica Pegula. So she is probably the player of the year consistency-wise in 2024 in the WTA. And it's brilliant to see a new player, taking strides and transforming her form from hard courts to clay to grass. It's a testament to how well she's playing and how much trust she's got in her team in every aspect of her shots, really, and performance. So Paolini's obviously in a great place. Her all-round game, as I mentioned, is really flowing. She's got the weapons to be successful on grass, which is why I'm surprised she's struggled at Wimbledon before in the past. She's used the slice and drop shots a lot throughout this tournament. She's done it a lot against Navarro. And Navarro's a player that moves very well. She's got great variety herself. So the fact that Paolini took on that battle head on and said, I think my slice and drop shot game will beat yours, I think is a testament to how confident she's feeling in terms of beating anyone that she steps in the court against on any given surface. She was just too aggressive for Navarro, and Paolini's a player that moves so well. She's very quick, she's powerful and just aggressive around the court. You can see how, much she's enjoying being in the tennis court with the emotion that she's shown, and that's a great place to be in for a tennis player. I felt like Navarro never really had the power to hold her off or redirect the pace, and what worked for Navarro against Goff didn't work against Paolini, because the performance from Paolini to the performance of Goff were huge. Goff's forehand was pretty terrible in that performance against Navarro, whereas Paolini's forehand was firing. She had a variety to her game. Her backhand was strong. She served and returned excellently well. So Navarro just couldn't find a way of extracting any errors or dominating any rallies, which saw Paolini win 6-2, 6-1, which is a shock result to many. I felt like Paolini was also patient. She hit through the defence consistently. She dominated from start to finish with, good serve and controlled aggression, variety, execution. The confidence was flowing. And I feel like she's very calm-minded as well. When she plays a bad point or a bad game, she responds very well, gets it out of her head and just back to basics, back to what she does best. And she's doing a very good job of dominating opponents and finishing matches off in double quick time. She's only lost one set so far in this championships, and it was another very, very strong performance. And if you're a junior player or a coach wondering how to be as effective on grass as you might be on clay or a hard court, watch this performance of Jasmine Paolini to see how grass court tennis should be played, because it was an absolute clinic from start to finish. So now, in terms of looking at how a player can win this match, in terms of Donna Vekic, she served incredibly well throughout this tournament in pretty much every match, but I feel like she'll need to have another brilliant service day to win this one, and I'm talking 70% first serves minimum. When she's on second serve, I feel like Paolini will punish that, and Vekic is a player that does hit a lot of doubles as well. If she does serve well and make lots of first serves, it will allow her to unleash her forehand, which is undoubtedly her biggest weapon, and get on top of rallies and dominate early exchanges. The deep, hard, flat ground strokes to Sun that really worked, forced errors and took time away. I do feel like Paolini was better prepared for those and can also rally from deep and redirect the ball and move forward and really counter punch. I think when you've reached the final of a French Open, where the rallies are more brutal and matches do typically go longer, the fact that she's reached a final shows how confident Paolini is in the back of the court and how consistent she's been in terms of finding depth and consistency and moving her opponents around with variety and slices and drop shots. I feel like this matchup's very tough for Vekic. She's got to be ultra aggressive on serve and return, and whether that means making a few doubles, missing returns, I feel like she's got to keep going for it and just keep going for big serves and big returns, try and shorten points. I feel like if she, starts just rolling in serves and just making returns, chipping them back, I feel like it's a recipe for disaster, and Paolini will dominate. In terms of I feel like how Paolini wins this one, as I mentioned, she used the backhand slice and drop shots a lot against Navarro, who is a great mover. I think that's certainly a tactics that she will use even more against Vekic, who isn't as good a mover as Navarro, or doesn't have as good a variety as Navarro, and she can really expose the lack of movement from Vekic. I feel like as long as Paolini is patient, then she'll be in control of this one. The 1 to 3 shot stage in each point, I think Vekic will really try and stamp her authority. But the longer the points go, Paolini's athleticism, her speed, her variety, her counter punching, her ball striking will really come into play. And although Vekic does hit the ball, like I've said, very hard and flat and deep and take the time away from an opponent, Paolini's also very resilient, very solid, very consistent, which is why she reached that French Open final and won her maiden Masters title in Dubai back in February. So I think it's key that Paolini keeps Vekic moving wide. You don't want to give Vekic short balls in the middle of the court and allow it to open up in the forehand. If she can keep the ball low and wide and attack short balls and really move in, attack the net with real conviction, with the slices and the drop shots, that's when we see the best of Jasmine Paolini. And I don't think pressure or nerves are going to be a real issue, considering she's just, reached the French Open final. Then I think we're going to see another very good Paolini performance. Who I think wins this match? Vekic has had a brilliant run. She's battled very hard through a tough draw, winning 4 set deciders, which is very difficult in itself. She's got an excellent first serve and a huge forehand. And if she turns up on the day, hits 70% of first serves, has a fantastic day firing forehands, then you certainly can't write her off winning this one. But Paolini's just a player in excellent form, and that last 16 performance and quarterfinal performance were quite stunning at times. I think she's trusting every aspect of the game, executing brilliantly, perfect variety in shot selection on the grass. Recently reached a major final and won a Masters, so she's got that winning momentum. She's got that big match experience of winning it. She's now in the top 5. Everything seems to be pointing in her favour at the moment, and I'm going to go Jasmine Paolini to win this one in. Moving on now to look at the second semi-final between Elena Rybakina and Barbora Krejcikova. Interestingly, as you can see there, Barbora Krejcikova leads the head-to-head 2-0. So we'll talk about Barbora Krejcikova first in her quarterfinal performance. It was a very, very good win over Ostapenko, who had lost just 15 games up until that quarterfinal matchup. I think many people predicted Ostapenko to win that one, including myself. Krejcikova started the match brilliantly. She served incredibly well throughout. She used variety from ball one to really stop Ostapenko finding rhythm. I felt she'd done a great job of keeping Ostapenko deep. She forced errors, particularly from the backhand side. As the match went on, I think Ostapenko got more and more frustrated with the consistent depth, and that saw the forehand and backhand go awry at times. And Krejcikova in the first set won 18 out of 19 first serve points. It was just an absolute serving clinic. Ostapenko couldn't make any returns, couldn't get in any return games, and that just piled the pressure on her to serve well. It felt like a matter of time before Ostapenko settled and started to hit winners. We know she's a player that's very, very aggressive no matter what the scoreline is. And the fact that she'd lost just 15 games in the first 4 rounds, you were waiting for Ostapenko to turn it around and just start beating down the defensive Krejcikova. But I thought, with Krejcikova, she just kept in that brilliant rhythm on serve. She was following up with great ground strokes, and Ostapenko just couldn't get any momentum. At the start of the second set, Ostapenko did dig in. She held serve to 40 on a couple of occasions. She wasn't at a usual level, but she kept doing enough. And, suddenly Ostapenko did start to make some returns and attack Krejcikova's forehand with depth, which saw a few errors start to stray from Krejcikova's racket. It wasn't a typical Ostapenko performance, though. I think mentally she had to really fight and win long games, where she's used to just rattling off games in 2 or 3 minutes with a couple of aces and a couple of winners. I just felt like Krejcikova's returning was the difference, and the serving. It was the controlled aggression, the forehand slice really negated the power of Ostapenko. She switched it up very well between being aggressive down the line and then also the forehand slice, completely taking the pace off and keeping Ostapenko behind the baseline. And although Ostapenko got a lifeline at 5-5 when breaking, Krejcikova responded and played a stunning tie break. And the point that she played to set up match point was arguably point of the championships, in my opinion, on the WTA side. Ostapenko hit 3 brilliant shots right into the corner, and the way Krejcikova defended and counter-punched and got the error was just a testament to her performance on the day. And it was a quite stunning counter-punching performance that thoroughly deserved a win. So moving on to Elena Rybakina against Elena Svitolina. I actually felt Svitolina started the match well. She broke in the first game and she looked very focused on making returns, neutralising rallies, immediately trying to move Rybakina from side to side, which is a tactic that I thought, she would have to adopt. We know you can't give Rybakina short balls in the forehand in particular, and she also created some fantastic backhand angles today, which were just a joy to watch. If you get into a firefight from the back of the court with Rybakina, there's only going to be one winner. I initially liked the intensity and competitiveness of Svitolina. I certainly couldn't doubt her effort today, but I just feel like she lacked variety and played into the hands of Rybakina. Rybakina really started to hit winners once she settled. I think she was a little nervous early on, but she started to serve well, bat up the serve beforehand. And I just feel like Svitolina had to be more creative. She had to use the slice more and drop shots. I can only remember on 2 occasions Svitolina using the slice and drop shot, and she actually won both points. But it was very difficult to do that when Rybakina was striking the ball as she was. Rybakina played a great return game to break for 5-3 in the first set, and the writing was sort of on the wall from that point in with the way she was serving. She was hitting the ball so cleanly, and Svitolina, wasn't keeping her wide or using the slice, and she got punished for that. 15 winners to Svitolina's 4 in the first set just tells the story in itself. She was dictating every exchange. I think from the second set, Rybakina was hitting the ball very hard, very deep, and Svitolina just couldn't absorb the pace. I think she had to try and find a way of redirecting or changing direction of the ball, but she wasn't allowed the time. It's very easy to sit and say she needs to take pace of the ball, she needs to slice, she needs to keep it low. But when Rybakina is smashing down forehands at 80 plus, 90 plus mile an hour right in the baseline, it's more or less impossible to find the time to be able to dictate and do what you want to do with the ball. By that point, Rybakina had settled, the aces started coming down, the forehand was firing, and it was just an excellent performance really from a former Wimbledon champion. And she took advantage of Svitolina's lack of variety, really executed, dominated from inside the court. And I do feel like it was slightly disappointing from Svitolina. That's a little bit harsh. I think overall it was performance from Rybakina that said, I'm here to win a second Wimbledon title. And I feel like it's a performance that I've been waiting for, but we certainly got it today. And in terms of how both these players can win this match, Rybakina, obviously the only Wimbledon champion left in the draw. She's got that experience of winning this title, being on centre court more than the other players, which is a bonus. It was the best performance of the championships by quite a long way, I felt, today against Svitolina. She served well. She cut out the unforced errors that she'd been making in other matches. She found that consistent depth on the forehand. She hit a lot of winners. I thought her backhand angles that she created today were brilliant and as good as I've seen Rybakina hit a backhand all year. And I feel like to beat Rybakina, you've got to serve incredibly well. You've got to keep the ball low, slice, use drop shots, expose the slight lack of movement, even though I think the more I watch Rybakina, the more I'm impressed with the movement. I think she's improving that aspect of the game more and more each year. But as I've said there about the match, when Rybakina is striking the ball so cleanly and deep and flat, it's more or less impossible to control and switch a rally in your favour. In terms of how I think Barbora Krejcikova can win, great preparation, I think, facing Ostapenko, who's a huge ball striker and winning. Ostapenko went into that match a favourite, having lost just 15 games, but she didn't allow Ostapenko to get into a rhythm. I don't think Ostapenko produced anywhere near her best today with the serve and the backhand breaking down. And I think there's no doubt Rybakina will perform better in the semi-final than what Ostapenko did today. But you've got to give Krejcikova huge credit. She's serving brilliantly in the last 2 matches in particular. She's finding consistent depth with the forehand, and she soaks up pressure very well. She's aggressive ball striking, particularly when she's following up the serve. And a counter punch and will force Rybakina to be precise, hit more balls, and she's going to have to be clinical on the day. Otherwise, the unforced error count could go up very, very quickly. I just don't think Krejcikova's got great variation in terms of slicing and drop shots. We know she's very good around the net, being a doubles player, so that's perhaps a route that she will go down. But I feel like if she doesn't use variety, that could be a downfall. Beating Collins and Ostapenko couldn't consistently hit through her, and I just feel like Rybakina's on another level. Those 2 players, particularly in a major semi-final, it'll be a different test, and she could simply just be too good on the day, which would be understandable. In terms of who wins this one, I was mightily impressed with Rybakina today. I felt like Svitolina was going to give her a tough test with her consistency, and I've been waiting for a top performance for her to justify the favouritism, but we got that today. She looked in control throughout. She was happy with the ground strokes and her serve, and I think she knows that if she performs on this court to her best ability, she wins this match with who's left in the draw, and she wins this tournament. I feel like Krejcikova will make it tough. She'll keep the ball deep. She'll try to counter punch. She'll defend. She'll serve well. but ultimately I don't feel like she's got the weapons or the variety to withstand the ball striking of Rybakina. And I can't see Krejcikova suddenly switching tactics after beating Collins and Ostapenko by winning exchanges in the back of the court. So I'm going to go for Rybakina to win this one in straight sets. So thank you for watching. If you would like and subscribe, it would be massively appreciated. I've got a couple of points in there why I do YouTube and which events I'll be covering. If you do also want to leave your predictions of who you think will win in the comment section below, it would be greatly appreciated. I do always enjoy reading those. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.